Once again, one game out of that playoff contention as we head into Champions League for game number 2 between Vici and LGD. Vici this time on the blue side, LGD now on the red side, as Kha'Zix is going to be the first ban coming out from Vici, Na the second, and then Syndra the third.
To quickly touch on kind of that playoff race again, it's very important that LGD actually 2-0 Vici so they can have the head-to-head should this come down to even records.
Let's see if they can do just that in game number 2. As on the side of LGD, they went for the Vladimir Karma and Malzahar ban. That means that Dandy is going to be immediately locking in the Hecarim as his jungler of choice.
Joke's on you, we can now go Cogmore Rumble. Best draft ever. I don't think there's too big of it. Like, banning away those 3 specific targeted champions, give over one of the other targeted champions they banned in game 1, which is going to be Rumble if Myron looks towards that. Nara is his standout performing champion, but he has a lot of strong fallbacks. Again, LGD, they still have a lot of availability in this draft.
They could lock this one in and pick up the 2 big comboing ultimates.
This makes a lot more sense rather than the priority of the Cogman that we've seen. Again, like Rusty said, Rumble hit the ban list previously, escaped this time around, so I'd like to see Marn get his hands on that. Probably one of the best, if not the best Rumble player in the world, as I say that.
Prom is also the most contested support pick between these 2 teams, but it seems like...
Doesn't matter, Fish.
Yep, Imp wants his Cogmore as fast as he can possibly get his hands on it.
I think it's just a fad. You know, he's just really enjoying his Cogmore. He wants to play it every time that he possibly can. May as well early draft it so no one can take it from you.
It's going to be another lock-in of Lissandra on the side of Vici, and Caveman will be picking up his Braum once again in game number 2. So very similar draft from Vici already.
I do think the initial thought of the Braum was akin to that of why Syndra had a couple of problems, because Braum can put the door up and block a lot of damage. If they play something bursty and skill shot heavy again, then Wayless might have wanted that to be respected. But doesn't matter too much. Syndra's been taken off the list, and Alistar does okay into it.
Next question is going to be if Easyhoon will be playing that Syndra, if it's going to go back into the hands of Long. I'd like to see Easyhoon keep it just because he's a phenomenal Lissandra player.
Well, let's see what they decide to do. They did flex pick it last game, and it was actually Long's first game on Lissandra this split.
I have a feeling that we're going to see Shen Lucian as kind of our final 2 rotations from Vici here.
Could most possibly be that pick. For now, we're still looking to see what LGD lock in as their next 2, and it's going to be the Elise in the jungle for Intruder, as Alistar, the support, will come out from LGD. We'll have to see if the final 2 picks from Vici are going to be the Lucian and the Shen.
They make the most sense. Of course, the Shen Hecarim combo is incredible, and Schwanschwampi is the Lucian player of the team. There is always going to be other avenues if they don't want to shield up and get into the backline, but given they're against a Cogmore, I mean, I do kind of understand the idea of the Shen there. LGD also changing it up, going for the Elise in their jungle position with the Kha'Zix taken off the board. I quite like this. Contrasting that they don't have the Shen to save the Kha'Zix. They don't have the shield for him. They can actually just use a pick comp around him now and cocoon somebody on top of an equalizer, protect the Cogmore throughout.
And another hyper-aggressive jungler who prioritizes getting those early snowball ganks.
For now, though, still waiting to see what feature going to be picking up as their final 2 picks to take to Summoner's Rift for game number 2. Seems like we got one of those right for Oscar, which is none. No, they changed last second. It's not even going to be the Lucian. Instead, they go for the Ashe and Trundle as their final 2 picks.
A lot of disengage as well as the hard engage available to them.
4 members of Freylord will be taken to the Rift for Vici. On the flip side, we're going to see the Varus being picked up by LGD. Wayless will be taking that one to the mid lane.
Remember the Varus, knowing that he's now into the Lissandra. They showed their hand. He picks himself a champion that can go QSS or cleanse and get through laning phase reasonably fine, but it changes LGD's identity entirely. They are a pick composition now with really strong siege threat and dive capabilities if they're poked out.
They also have great threat around the neutral objectives like the Dragon and the Baron Pit, but that also means that they need to be very proactive on their vision, getting to those objectives first, having superior position, placing the vision, and then utilizing their ultimates.
We'll see if they can use that one effectively. Once again, seems like the contrast of playstyles very chaotic from LGD, very skirmish-based. Vici, on the other hand, very teamfight heavy champions being picked up.
Since you've pointed out that it's a Fredgelord comp, I'm so tilted that Dandy's not playing Gragas.
Yeah.
We almost got there. One day, one day. Well, let's see if the Shadow Isles Hecarim is going to be enough for Vici to mix this one up and pick up their second game against LGD. We're going to go straight into Summoner's Rift. We're on to Summoner's Rift here for game number 2 between Vici and LGD. After a chaotic performance in game number 1, LGD were able to take down Vici, especially with Wayless back in the lineup as their mid laner once again.
I don't think takedown really does that game justice, especially on the back half. That was like a full like haymaker, just like roundhouse kick to the face.
It took a little while for them to wind up the kick. They did get there, though. Vici, though, I'm going to say the exact same style as game number 1, a little bit more rounded and set up more appropriately, given that Easyhoon's the Lissandra. Lung does like split pushing. I think they've actually got a strong team composition and capabilities in this game to take it to LGD.
Well, let's see if they can use it effectively here as LGD once again sticking to their guns. Pick up the Kog'Maw very early into their pick rotation. So this is the 4th match of Kog'Maw we've seen tonight.
This time around, though, not looking towards standard lanes with the champion. We're initiating a blind lane swap. It is not going to be sussed out by Vici, Braum, and Ashe, the mustache lane sitting down in the bottom try.
Something we normally see, Vici do quite frequently, which is go for those lane swaps, but at times really feels like their execution is not as great as other teams in the LPL.
Yeah, they actually have the highest lane swap rate in the LPL, I believe.
Yep.
But success is not always there. Myron
actually in a lot of trouble here.
You're gonna have to
Concussive Blow is going to lock him down. He gets exhausted as well. Finally flashes away. Meanwhile, though, Intruder doing a lot of good damage in return to Shenchen, but early Summoner being burnt for LGD.
Yeah, of course, a lot of damage was also put onto Intruder. So as far as these two jungle, it's not safely. Mind you, PYL is now doing his own part on the opposite side. The main recipient of the bonus there, though, is actually Imp.
Big advantage, though, for Dandy now in his jungle as he was able to clear 2 camps, the Wolf camp as well as a major camp in his blue, whereas Intruder and Marin only got the Wolf camp as well as a ton of damage losing that Summoner spell. So far, Vici tempo advantage for early game.
Let's see if they can keep this one up. For now, though, it's only that Summoner spell. Let's see if LGD can minimize the damage dealt by the early game fumbles that happened in their jungle.
This is going to be a 3 buff by Dandy.
As he works to try and take down LGD's blue buff. Already has his own from the top side of the map start that he got. PYL taking a lot of turret hits there. He's going to be able to stay alive, and LGD looking to try and take down this top lane outer turret with 3 members pushing on towards it.
Yeah, missing a lot of health in this lane swap start. They will have a hard time actually controlling the waves after the turrets go down, but you would expect the turret to be taken slightly quicker than that of Vici, who didn't set up their waves as efficiently. They actually had Xuan invading with Caveman.
Now, though, we take a look towards the mid lane, as this is going to be an isolated lane between Wayless and Easyhoon. This time, Easyhoon is back on that Lissandra, something we expected from game 1.
Is facing across from Wayless's Varus, though, so 2 champions that both these mid laners are incredibly comfortable on. I'd say Wayless has almost even set the standard of Varus play, at least inside the LPL.
Certainly has. And he's been pushing Easyhoon quite aggressively towards his turret here. Intruder was actually intruding on towards Dandy's jungle. We're going to recall deep inside of his own jungle. Dandy actually taking down the wolves for himself.
Yeah, recalled in a spot to see where the Hecarim was going to go. This also gives the opportunity now for the opposite side of the map, which is standardized once again for LGD, because they're going to be the right side up to pressure, knowing that Trundle can't stay.
Oops, they opt not to continue this lane swap. For now, though, Danny actually looking to try and get a gank on towards Midlane. Wayless in a bit of trouble. Cocoon is going to get dodged out. He's still dashing back and forth. Knocks him very far back. Has to try and dash away with the clans, but they're jumping on top of him. They do trade 1-for-1 in the mid lane as Intruder pounces on top of Easy Hoon and trades it back.
Yeah, one less person there for LGD, but they still get the trade. Of course, Summoner's burned by the Varus to ensure it happens, and meanwhile...
They're fighting. PYL with the big combo. Make sure that Intruder can pick up a return kill.
And in the end, LGD actually come out on top when all is said and done. Big props to PYL on the roam, as well as Wayless for setting up the initial 1-for-1 trade that Intruder picked up.
Good guy PYL also trying to freeze the lane as much as possible for Wayless to pick up when he returns to the lane. Teleport being burnt by Easy Hoon to get back towards the mid lane.
Got him.
Marin in a little bit of trouble. Concussive blows will lock him up. He gets
flash.
exhausted as well, trying to get the slows down towards Shen, but they're just chasing on forward towards him. He does get the heal off, but that will be Marin getting taken down.
That's your level 1 flash now missing that you definitely wished you had. Of course, the exhaust was used, but is back off cooldown. 2 summoner spells burnt to ensure that he dies. Definitely worth it. Unfortunately, LGD's top lane still has a teleport and can come join the bottom lane push if he chooses.
There he goes.
Danny actually looking to try and get another gank towards the mid lane. Wayless, no summoner spells now, gets knocked back straight into Easy Hoon. The claw comes out for damage. He's going to get taken down. They're really trying to pick on him in this game.
The world's biggest flank featuring both members of Vici. Keep him down, definitely going to be an important strategy, especially in what is currently an isolated lane. Once Easy Hoon gets that level 6 advantage, could be lights out for Wayless.
Naturally also continuing to abuse the fact that he didn't have either of his summoner spells, so Wayless frankly just being too far forward as well. They have to think, though, that Marin's like, finally, it's not me.
Oh, yeah. Marin's doing okay, except that he also died in the 2v1.
Well, we do see the two teams continue in the prolonged lane swap between the two of them.
Would be dragon advantage for LGD if they choose to rotate off this objective, though.
He's not getting that, I don't think. He's losing health.
Moving on towards it, it is a mountain dragon as well. Imp's going to start this one up. Intruder will repel over the wall and looks to try and take this one down. So they do get the bottom lane outer turret. They will get the bottom lane outer turret with Marin still pushing for that one and get a mountain dragon on top of it.
Yeah, it's working out okay, honestly, for LGD. The only real pain point is going to be this middle lane where Wayless should be fine as long as it stays as a 1v1. Of course, being a tier stacking champion, can sit back, use spells, and just try to stay within the lane. However, Vici are ensuring that this is everything but a 1v1.
It looks like they want to send Caveman and Dandy back in towards the mid lane. Wayless going to have to definitely be careful in this matchup.
He will get dove if the claw hits.
It's been keeping up in terms of CS quite well against Easy Hoon so far. And they're still looking for this dive. No one is close by enough to protect him. Intruder now has to be a little bit careful as he's going to be able to find Caveman in this jungle. It's an auto attack down and we'll be able to stun him up. No, good jump coming up from Caveman. Gets away from the crowd control.
Good heads-up play from Wayless, however, to be postured towards the bottom side of his lane, so knowing that there was a possibility that that dive was coming. And even more important is the fact that the jungler actually showed up. Yes, he didn't show up to a counter gank, but normally, if that was punished, the gank would go through on LGD and Amy would be probably in base.
You can even see in Wayless putting down a pink ward just behind the brush on the right side of his lane, just trying to spot out if Hecarim is going to be trying to flank him again as blue buff gets donated on towards the Varus.
Something unique to Wayless in terms of LGD's identity is he's actually really responsible for a lot of their vision. Typically you see this more when he plays very heavy mobility champions, but even on Varus, he's kind of the secondary ward for the team when he used to be on the roster.
That's something that has been missing a little bit from LGD.
Their
Punish has
vision?
been playing Twisted Fate to compensate a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be the exact same thing. Intruder, it makes sense that if LGD have a vision-inclined mid laner, that they have an assassin-based jungle pick. And so that's why this recipe seems to be working in one of the better ways for LGD. However, Vici are exploiting one of those links now. They're trying to get Easy Hoon ahead.
Well, let's see if they can do that one effectively. For now, though, it's a little bit of a stalemate between the two teams. Marin actually using his ultimate to try and clean out this top lane and push it on towards the Lung's turret.
And what's really important is we're starting to see a couple of these key ultimates come online. So Dandy already has the Onslaught of Shadows. We just saw Marn use his ultimate. But more importantly, Xuan P, level 5 right now on that Ashe. You know, as soon as he gets that level 6, Owalis is going to be in even more trouble.
So now Marin actually rotating down towards the
Five
mid lane.
men
with
mid.
5 members of LGD looking
Easy
to get
who.
some revenge for Wailers here. Easy who definitely has to be careful as they're looking to try and get some good damage on towards the turret. There's the claw threatening and engage. And LGD decide not to pull the trigger.
The arrow is online, though.
Yeah, diving that turret could have actually backfired. It's a Lissandra after all with summoners available. That Ash arrow connects onto somebody, they'd be stuck under the turret. LGD only having a level 5 support means that diving that is really risky to commit to. They're more just there because there's nowhere else for them to be. Trundle had a freeze going. The Ashe is now starting to push out, so there will be somewhere for him to go within the next 2 minutes. But at that point, they just gave it a go.
And Smara now might be in a little bit of trouble. Hawkshot comes out trying to spot out where the rumble is. And here comes Dandy. He's going to be able to find him recalling. Gets the charge down. Gets the smite as well. Marin has to try and run for the heals, but Lung's up here as well. Puts the pillar down as well as the subjugate. That's a dead rumble. As Vici get another pick in the top lane.
Lots of damage comes out of Dandy. Once again, starting to go insane in this game. Getting everywhere on Summoner's Rift and keeping LGD at bay.
Which overall will mean disaster for Ramp. Again, this is a Kog'Maw at its core. If you have a Hecarim who's super far ahead, his ability to dive that backline and just delete your hyper carry increases exponentially.
Well, let's see if Dandy can get that done in this game, as Whale is still trying to farm as far away from Easy Hoon as he possibly can.
He'll still be
poking it
fine in that lane, right? Like, he might be 0-2, but he's actually close to... He's only a little bit ahead in CS, but he's still ahead. He's still got the lane control because he can poke, and that's all that Wayless really needs to do. Hit that level 9, max out his Q, and poke everybody.
And still stacking up the tier quite nicely. He does have his Hex Drinker available as well, so we'll mitigate some of the magic damage that comes out of that Lissandra. And now Caveman has to be careful, going to get knocked backwards. Intruder and PYL trying to get some good damage down. Here comes the arrow, but it lands on top of the Alistar. Deep teleport comes in too. Marin's here. Flash away coming out from the Braum, but Marin's going to get locked down, exhausted as well. Onslaught of Shadows knocks him backward. He's going to get taken down, but does get the equalize off before he gets taken down. Dandy in trouble, is going to die. Shen P has to try and run away, but Wayless is chasing him down.
Ooh.
PYL goes in, only gets the knock up on towards Lung though.
Oh.
It's just going to be a 1-for-1 trade between the two teams.
Once again, a hero movement from Wayless. He does try to make a play. Doesn't get the kill this time. As Xuan P survives, but 1-for-1 effectively is a trade there with a lot of summoners burnt. The map is super volatile for the next 5 minutes.
Certainly is, and now 25 seconds until the next dragon spawns as well. Dandy's back up in an alliance, so is Marin, but Marin has no teleport if he wants to try and split away when that dragon comes back up.
And naturally, that's the big deal about this, is we're coming onto a possible 5v5 over a dragon. And everyone's been fighting so much that we also are really kind of behind in terms of our itemization on the clock.
Yeah, actually really behind.
Yeah,
Imp
it's
should have it now, though. He hasn't gone back and shopped in
Still
quite a
waiting.
while.
Seems like for his item pickup as Vici look to try and start this Ocean Dragon for themselves. No response from LGD yet. Dandy and Caveman happy to try and take this one down by themselves.
Yeah, so it should actually just be free to take. The advantage that they have right now is LGD's vision is really defensive. They have a lot of pink wards, but they're all back, not even in a neutral ground. And so LGD can't really afford to walk out there to be unsafe, because that was backwards.
That's happened a couple of times.
It happens.
Wayless.
Should be noted that the next dragon is the Mountain Drake.
Nailed it.
I said I wouldn't say it again. It's a Mountain Drake. It's important because they already have a Mountain Drake. Double Mountain Drake. It's time when they siege towers.
Well, it's noted for us, Karen.
Mountain Drake. Noted.
Vici's got the Ocean Dragon that they just took down as well.
Damn it.
You're so close.
As I said it, too, I was like, no.
Swayless is still trying to push out this mid lane wherever he possibly can. Farm as far away from Easy Hoon as possible.
Still a risk every time Dandy gets his eye on you.
Big teleport coming
out.
down to the bottom lane. Wayless doesn't see this one. Suddenly Along's going to show up. Intruder just scuttles away. He doesn't want anything to do with this fight. Wayless, he had a great game 1, but game 2 is not looking great for him at all.
Just giant target on his back. He is now the new Marin of LGD and is repeatedly getting camped.
And you said, Marin, you know, you got a chance to lay back that last game. I don't think he can do the same thing here in game 2.
It's actually quite important that Imp shows up as well to play. 3-0s is his scoreline. Now needs to start finding some numbers in the kill column, not the death column, because Marin's doing his best Wayless impression, even though he's not getting the camp.
William does have 20 CS up ahead of Shenchunpi on this Kongmore. Has completed his Wit's End as well. So looking fairly strong for now.
Unfortunately, that's not going to be enough. He does need to actually start stepping up. You're early rotating a Kog'Maw. There has to be a good reason for this. Ashe is always going to be relevant. You throw out the arrow, you throw out W's if you're out of range. You can clear waves. You've got engage.
Got him.
Not backwards. Nailed it.
Aww.
Yeah, Braum does that.
Wayless is still farming up this mid lane here. This time up against Shenchunpi.
We're going to see farming for quite a while right now. Obviously, neither of the teams want to fight over the dragon. It's just the Rift Herald available, so there's no reason to really, or no high demand to move into that Baron Pit area, start laying down the vision. Both these teams scale decently well in towards mid and late game, especially LGD. So if everything can just stay calm for the next 5 minutes, I think we have a gentleman's agreement that it's going to be a farm fest, grab some items, then reset, try another 5v5.
Yeah.
So I can see Vici doing that. LGD, a little bit of a wild card for Oscar.
I mean, considering that it looks like Wayless is having a bad time. You know, it looks like Marin's having a really bad time. It's only 1,000 gold between these teams.
Not even that. There's slightly less than 1,000 gold in Vici's favor.
Like that mid-game spike that Vici is going to get will be quite severe. With the Trinity Force that comes out, noting that Trundle's also gone full tank, means that they will hit mid-game running. Or cantering, or galloping.
Trotting.
On the trot.
A calm gallop.
Well, let's see if they can do just that. As Marin almost gets hit by the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but that's not even what they need to take him down. Dandy charges on forward. Flash away from Marin a little bit too late. Dandy takes him down.
He tried to clear the wave, though, before he died and is successful, so the turret won't fall. Means that LGD are working in other areas of Summoner's Rift.
Vici continuing to be the proactive team around the map, using 2 of their key ultimates right there, so waiting until those cooldowns come back up. They should be available by that next dragon fight, pending they don't throw an arrow from a hip before then.
We'll take an arrow to the knee from LGD as they're still looking to push this one up. Wayless is still wave clearing in this mid lane. And even though it's 7-3 in terms of kills, LGD are nowhere behind in terms of gold at the
They
moment.
certainly should be, but
What?
Imp is getting all of the farm in the world.
They're only 300 gold down.
Fish, I know you weren't here for LGD's their rise.
Yes.
But something that they've always been really good at
fall.
is they're so good at any creeps that come into the lane of like vacuuming it up. Just hoovering up all of the free gold on the map. And even when they fall ridiculously far behind, they have ridiculous CS leads that it almost doesn't even matter. They come into a 5v5, they smash you. That is the LGD way. Get on the train, it's leaving.
I just don't see that train taking off any stations against Vici's team composition, given the circumstances.
Yep.
That is a 4-kill Hecarim that is destroying Marin.
Hunting.
What is he going to do to poor Imp once he finds his way in?
Well, Imp is still looking for his next item, which is going to be that Hurricane. Once he picks that up, it'll be a big power spike for the Kog'Maw, but Dandy actually posing very aggressively here. Wayless kind of sense something is up. Marin is going to get locked down. Poor old Rumble has to use the equalizer. Wayless trying to do what he can, is not able to lock them down fast enough. Dandy, they're underneath the turret. Wayless does pick up the return kill and helps Marin out.
I think Wayless could have been more aggressive there, to be honest with you. Flash forward, use your ultimate, lock them down on top of the equalizer. There might have been 2 kills, but a 1-for-1 trade is how things pan out.
It's the difference between being there for cleanup duty and being there to save your teammate.
He was there to counter gank. That was very notable, yet he did not use his flash forward to save him.
Well, Ember's been able to pick up his Hurricane, so 2 big items picked up by the Cogmo already. He's looking to try and see what he can do against this mid lane turret.
I feel like that was really brave from Caveman.
He has a door.
Takes a lot of damage, even though he does put up the door. Intruder now looking to see if he can get a flank on towards him. There's the claw coming out, just gets EasyHoon back into the lane.
I guess the big real concern that Vici does have is that all of their gold is on their jungler, and yet Intruder, who has basically been invisible in this game, has still farmed well and is not far behind.
It certainly hasn't. There's move up being contested here between LGD and Vici.
Oh, we got it.
Is able to get it away with the arrow.
Whoa.
As our observer was a little bit too happy with that steal.
Highlighting that he had a blue buff in the bottom left of his screen, which is why he flung over.
But Mountain Dragon does fall for Vici. It's going to be another Mountain Dragon that spawns next.
Should be noted. We're moving towards, I like LGD's capabilities of doing Baron again as well. So I just tilted for us currently.
Yep, she's left. She'll come back later.
I just fell off the desk.
I think past this point in the game, LGD can start to turn up the tempo because a one team fight is Baron for them. Now they've got big item spikes onto Imp.
Looking to contest this red buff. Does get smited away by Intruder. Wayless gets Dandy with an arrow.
I feel like it juked the spectator. He's like, Dandy got... Nope, Dandy didn't get it. Just watched him gallop away.
And Wayless is still pushing in this mid lane.
I think this is a reoccurring trend for LGD, that their only requirement for composition is that it can do Baron ridiculously quickly.
Yeah, or damage quickly. I mean, like, they have a pick composition on paper. It feels like I would look at LGD and say, yeah, they do Baron quickly, they can win this game. But I also think that if they're sieging turrets, they can still kill people really successfully under it with an equalizer, especially now Marin's getting his level advantages up.
I just feel like it's this mentality of we just have to win one fight into Baron and then we can win the game off of that.
Oh, yeah.
Marin's got to be a little bit careful here. Caveman is trying to wrap around the Rumble. Winter's Bite and as well as the Exhaust can be coming out shortly. Concussive Blow should lock him down. And Chancer Chris Arrow might follow shortly after and locks him down even further. Longest down this lane as well. There goes the ultimate. He's literally trying to turn this one around to Shen. Flashes on top of the Ash as well. It's not enough, but LGD might look towards Baron.
Yeah, they're kicking it off.
That's 3 people down bottom. We talked about this. They can burn this very quickly.
And that was a teleport used by Long to get down there as well. Imp is just spraying at this Baron.
Dandy we trust.
They're trying to do what they can. Danny is going to try and do the Prince of Thieves here and knock on towards him, but PYL's kept him occupied. Wayless locks him down as well, which means Baron does fall. There goes Danny into the backlines. EasyHoon locks down Imp, but Imp is still alive, trying to get whatever damage he can. Will eventually fall. He's trying to chase out Amen. He's kind of stuck here. Has to go and fight his way out of this one as PYL, someone the rift, just falls down. And poor old Wayless is just stuck. There's nothing he can do, Fusco. This is the best.
The Thunderdome. The Gladiator Arena. I've never seen that before. They had him trapped in a bowl.
Oh, poor Wayless.
Okay.
Picked on all game, gets isolated in the Baron pit. He thought he was Baron for a second, as now they're looking to try and take down Marin again. He's having an awful game.
Yeah. That guy's struggling.
The Baron survived on 2 members, I believe.
But 1 now. Only Intruder has that Baron left. So LGD do get the major objective, but it just looks like Vici are the ones that are ripping through all the structures at the moment.
Yeah, that's backdooring that turret as well without any minions to reduce the turret's tankiness. Imp's still scaling, not quite at his item spikes, and the Baron buff thankfully on 1.
Well, PYL looked like the one to go in there. Dandy does get locked down.
EasyHoon
jumps in, ults himself a big ult. In fact, this Imp is trying to kite backwards on this Cockblock, getting good damage down onto everyone. Obliterates EasyHoon, is looking for the execution damage in the back.
Teleport from Mara, and
Here
he's
comes
back.
Mara, and he wants his revenge as he's trying to take down Long. Flamespitter will come back up shortly, but he's getting slowed quite heavily. Is not able to get the flank he was looking for.
LGD, weren't you just losing the game?
Yeah, they were. They're not anymore. They get a turret with it. LGD, that last team fight was so much imp. Like, he just went insane. Between him and Wayless actually locking down Dandy at the start of the fight to ensure there was no burst combo out of the Hecarim is enough to keep them in the game by winning a sick team fight. And Vici's snowball that they just got by killing LGD is gone.
They are 9 kills behind Vici, but only 900 gold.
And they don't have 4 turrets, they only have 3. So they technically have that last standing gold difference just sitting on the map waiting for them.
It's the only thing that really separates them is Vici has an Ocean Dragon, LGD just have that Mountain Dragon.
And a lot of this is coming... Oh god, Imp.
He's in a little bit of trouble here. Shenshop actually taking a lot of damage in return. Wayless locks him down. Imp on the top side of the map. Gonna get killed by Lung and Dandy. Just doing Imp things.
I was gonna say, the gold difference is really in the idea that LGD have been able to pick up a ton of shutdown bonuses, but likewise the CS difference between the 80 carries, 179 to 235, and that said, Imp, to get that CS, has to overextend and eventually will be punished.
Now Vici looking to try and capitalize on that one, looking to wrap around the mid lane inner turret. Equalizer does come out from Marin trying to clear this wave. Danny does take an arrow there, but this turret falls down so quickly. Vici opening up the map quite nicely again.
And you'd expect Imp is actually really close to his next item. There was no reason to be extended that far. You forego the tower that's now gone. Yep, of course, he buys it on cue. That item could have won LGD the next fight if he just showed a little bit of reservation. Let them push in.
See, but you use the word reservation when talking about Imp.
You know why I'm using the word reservation.
Yeah, I just feel, you know...
Just for 1 second, you didn't extend too far. Just one.
Never happens.
2 seconds.
Oh, LG looking to try and pick up their second Mountain Dragon and the third Mountain Dragon that's spawned in this game. That will fall pretty quickly and prompt the Cloud Dragon to be the next Elemental Dragon to spawn. And the last Elemental Dragon of the game as well.
Well, it should be noted that they now have 2 Mountain Drakes.
20% extra damage to epic monsters as well as structures.
Yep.
That was on purpose.
And they like doing Baron. I'm only hearing emptiness to the left of me. Somehow still in this game.
Yep, Marin is just casually 1-7 on this Rumble as well as being able to pick up his Landry's Torment as well as the Zhonya's Hourglass. Now looking for his first Measly large rod item. And
They're making a play for him again. What's 1-8 to a man that's already 1-7?
Moving to the top side of the map, he's going to get locked down by the Frozen Tomb coming out from Easy Hoon. Puts down the Equalizer and tries to flash away, but just gets taken down in return.
LGD are playing a different game than League of Legends. There's just like, their bodies are just tools, just extensions, just to push the wave. And like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I die here as long as this pressure point is created on the map.
They're just in their own version of Dark Souls.
Imp, Imp, you're on top of a pink ward. Imp.
Hey! I regret nothing.
I tried. It didn't work.
It's like 30 gold. Joke's on you. I'm 75 over.
Well, now through all the chaotic plays, Vici have been able to pick up a 2,500 gold lead for themselves. The first sizable lead we see them have.
That's like all Marin.
He's still 30 CS ahead as well, so it's actually rounding out that he's not that far behind. He's been getting solo experience, so he's the same level as Long. He's actually ahead in gold.
He is dead even with Long.
You too can go 1-8 in solo queue and be like, but I'm actually even on gold, guys.
Well, the biggest discrepancy between the two teams, one, Dandy's about 1,000 ahead of Intruder, then it's actually Caveman. That's ahead of PYL. 80 carries fairly even. Wayless is fairly even with Easy Hoon. LGD are a unique team, to say the least.
Oh, God.
Here comes another claw coming out from Lissandra.
We can highlight LGD being a unique team, but I also feel like Vici should be further ahead than what they are.
Yes,
if
definitely.
Vici actually started to play the map with the Ash Arrow more effectively, which we have very sparingly seen used.
Which is surprising that Shenshunpi is brought into this game to play Ash as well.
I mean, right now, the Ash Arrow is Easy Hoon finding these picks onto other people. He is moving around the map really effectively. Like, Easy Hoon's playing out of his mind in this second game. He's working around Dandy's working, like, who's playing out of his mind with him, and Lung's doing his part. Bottom lane barely exists.
It's Lung immediately looking for another dive here. Oh no! Easy Hoon doesn't get the claw over the wall. And now on the flip side of the map, Vici just getting engaged on Wayless, not going to be able to get the chains down onto the members as Caveman flashes away from the initiation. Vici will be able to try and push down the bottom lane inner turret for their troubles.
And Marin saving his teleport and his ultimate because he doesn't want to clear that wave, which means he actually wants to be useful around the Baron, which is available.
PYL does get jumped on by Dandy there, just takes a Hecarim to the face, as now they're looking to try and chase down Easy Hoon, of all people.
Never mind me.
Well, there's the ultimate being burnt there, Rusty. Marin apparently doesn't, want it anymore.
LGD don't care.
I can tell.
If they win this game, it's so undeserving.
This is going to come down to a single fight. If they win, it comes down to a single team fight right in front of Baron or right after Baron.
I'm actually curious to know if LGD know that they're not that far behind at this point in the game, because they're playing like they are.
They have one mode, and it's kind of like burn everything.
Well, Vici have suddenly been able to pick up the goldie.
PYL's recalling in vision of that Ash Hawk shot. They will start the Baron if they know that he's gone back.
Let's see if they do. Shenshunpi just
back.
clears out a couple of wards. LGD, Vici have been able to pick up a good gold lead for themselves after the push in the bottom lane. Now 3,500 gold up, which is pretty significant 30 minutes in this time round. But there are big item power spikes on both teams. You can see Rylai's almost being picked up by Marin and has actually been picked up by Intruder. Mid lane, you can see Varus has completed his Maw of Malmortius, now waiting for his Manamune to stack up into a Mirror Mana.
Again, on both sides of the map, though, top and bottom, you have now big waves pushing against Vici, or will soon build up to push against Vici. You see immediate assist pings going down on Baron. So with these pressure points, LGD are saying that they're feel confident enough to group up and to move into this Baron pit to contest the vision.
That, and thankfully Vici was starting to actually contest themselves. They were setting up for the area. They do have to go back eventually, as they aren't controlling their minion waves to the highest level.
Dragon's coming back up in 45 seconds, but it's just a Cloud Dragon. It's probably not going to be prioritized very heavily by either of these teams.
Vici need to be very careful that they don't get caught out by sloppy backs around this Baron. Again, it's a double Mountain Drake Kog'Maw composition from LGD.
With a Blade of the Ruin King and an Execute on an Elise.
If they're left alone with this objective for 20 seconds, it's done.
Vici do have a very nice team composition at the moment. The items to do the exact thing there.
Teleports in.
They're looking to try and get a flank. Intruder is the one that looks like he's a little bit out of position. Imp and PYL trying to kite backwards. Good ooze coming out from Kog'Maw slows Caveman down. Dandy now trying to chase on forward towards Intruder. Uses the Protobelt to try and dash to safety. Good repel comes out to avoid the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but he's still in a lot of trouble. Big ultimate comes out from PYL. Imp now getting jumped on by Dandy, but he's still alive. Takes him down as there's the equalizer cutting off the rest of the team. Lung trying to do what he can. Wayless tries to snipe people off in the back lines. LGD are still chasing off forward. Marin has his Rylai's Crystal set, so he's just going to chase them down. Wayless with the big snipe into the back lines there, picking up the 2-for-1 for now. Still looking for more.
He's teleporting a flank.
This is a big flank that's going to be coming out from Marin. LG just have to hold them there, but Vici want to fight their way out. They're on top of Imp, who gets one. Shenshunpi blasts forward, but he dies. Imp takes him down. He also takes down the Lissandra, and a shutdown comes out for Wayless as the ace comes out for LGD.
Marin's teleport may have seemed weird, but it did actually cause the fight or flight reflexes of Vici to kick in, and they chose to go down swinging. They do take people out with them as an end result, but this is how it all happens for Oscar.
And Intruder plays this so well, dodges the Ice Arrow, but then here's the turnaround, a massive 3-man pulverize from PYL. Intruder's antics buys LGD enough time that Marn and Wayless are able to join the fight and follow it up with the CC and damage.
Look at Wayless this entire fight, just poking every single time he has his arrow up.
Yeah, he was playing this incredibly well. Not only that, it was actually huge from Lung zoning away Imp. Otherwise, they were all dead throughout the entirety of this. This is the point, though, where they decide that they're going to teleport in on a mega flank, and Vici say, we just go, like 100% in. And Imp, unfortunately, just doesn't have enough in the tank to survive through easy Hoon at the end.
Just
close.
plants his feet, though.
Yeah.
Very close coming out from Imp there. LGD is still behind in gold. You can look at the damage dealt during that fight. Conqueror topping the charts. Whalers just behind him. And they do pull it back slightly, so now LGD about 2,000 gold behind Vici at the moment. That team fight definitely didn't do that justice.
But winning a team fight from a gold deficit with, like, Vici's composition, we've been saying it all game long. They have so many tools to kill Imp.
Easy Hoon's in a bit of trouble. Has to flash away from PYL, who was threatening a combo. Caveman holds up the door and is able to stop that arrow that was coming out from Whalers.
Myron's playing right now like he is a 2-8 Rumble. But that's such a good thing for this team because he's just sitting on flanks. He's just trying to pick people apart using his ult as a zoning tool, and this is getting destroyed.
It's down to half health. LGD committed to try and take
They've
this
got
one
this.
down. It's going down. Dandy's got no opportunity to get into the back lines of that pit. Major objective picked up by LGD.
Vici are just watching this game run away from them. They need to be more proactive, and Xuan P on this Ashe needs to step up. We need to have a meaningful, impactful arrow, or Vici are just going to passively lose this game.
And you mentioned Froskerin at the start of this match. LGD really need the 2-0 here, and they're fighting desperately to try and pick this one up.
It's important that they get the 2-0 so they at least have an even head-to-head against Vici, because Vici 2-0'd them the first time around. Again, if Vici win more than 3 series, LGD's playoff dreams are dead because Vici cannot get higher than an 8-8 record. So that's what you're looking for. LGD have full control in their hands. If they beat them here, then they just need to rely on Team WE to step up and also beat Vici Gaming.
Let's see if they can do just that for now, though. LGD looking revitalized, so to speak, with Laylas back in their mid lane.
Yeah, they really do. The Varus has been not as impactful as his game number 1 Syndra, but it's definitely doing its part. Whalers still making a lot of positive plays, but LGD across the board just didn't have an early game.
So now they're looking to try and push down the bottom lane inner turret, dead even on gold as they look to try and take the fight to Vici. This turret is going to fall rather quickly, and they might actually cut off the rest of the Vici team who are trying to retreat through the jungle. But now they grab the gold lead for themselves.
I was just about to point that out. Finally, the gold lead has swung back in favor for LGD. We're coming closer and closer to this Elder Dragon, as well as the third rotation of Baron. And you have to think that in the next 5 to 6 minutes that's going to be the next powder keg for this.
That is the biggest Cogmore now that he's got all of his items.
Sitting on a nice ruby crystal as well. A little bit tanky.
Just needs to plant his feet.
It's his Jerome's fist, so probably going to be picking up the Sterix Gauge. Trying to keep himself alive through the burst damage that can come out of Vici.
Yeah, instead of going for like a Mercurials, having a QSS to get out of a Lissandra, he's trusting that PYL will look after him with the Mikhails.
Is that what we're going to call it? Trust?
He expects that PYL will look after him with the Mikhails that he bought specifically for it. There you go.
He told PYL to buy the Mikhail so that he could take care of him.
I feel like they're... Guys, what should I get for my last item? Probably a QSS or a GA.
No.
Got it.
What? That's not a QSS. Shh. That's a QSS, guys. As LGD was trying to look to push down the mid lane inner turret.
He's got this great dynamic in my head of like, Imp, you need to QSS this game. PYL, I need to QSS this game. Got it, boss.
Just goes down the line.
Not surprised about how that one panned out there. As they do take down that mid lane inner turret, Elder Dragon is going to be up and online in a minute 45. And the final inner turret for Vici that is standing on the top side of the map looks like to be the next objective LGD are going to push for.
So I'm not actually sure that LGD are going to all-in commit to this particular turret because it's a really cheap item spike between Jarum's Fist and Asterix Gauge. They might just look for this one, take it as an easy poke-out option, but try not to go too hard for it. It is LGD, they may not.
Let's see what they do here. Claude has come out from Lissandra, opts not to take it into it, and that turret falls. Now Caveman in lots of trouble, going to get locked down by PYO. Intruders right on top of him. Wayless lands the ultimate down as well as the Rumble Equalizer separates the rest of the team. Easyhoon has to take the Claude to get the safety, but PYO with the big combo locks up Shen Then they're just obliterating Vici. It's going to be the ace that comes out for LGD in game number 2.
They've got a creep wave coming in, and they're going to tear through this tower. This is possibly the end of the game for LGD. They're looking at the 2-0 over Vici and Fish. I say to you again, are you on the hype train, or are you leaving at the station?
Well, now I am definitely on this hype train, as somewhere in Australia, Spawn is smiling because once again, LGD are 1 game out of playoffs.
From start to finish, that did not look like LGD had missed a beat. But it depends what you mean by that, as naturally they find themselves team comping to victory at the end of the game. Cogmore steps up massively. Scales and Vici, they did still look good in that second game.
They certainly did. I mean, they were able to take down Marin, I think, 8 times, picking him off and punishing Wayless in the mid lane. The 2 solo laners coming out for LGD did not have a good time in that match.
Okay, so now what this means for the LGD Miracle playoff run. Vici now have IMA, OMG, and Team WE left to face. Again, Vici, if they win all 3 of those games, they are going to playoffs no matter what. But it's expected that they'll lose to Team WE, which means now LGD have the head-to-head tiebreaker, which means that LGD are going to playoffs.
Well, LGD still have to get through RNG as well, who are looking pretty strong, so it's going to be still a difficult road for them to battle out of, but still, nonetheless, impressive series from LGD, especially with Wayless back in the mid lane.
Yeah, Wayless had a standout performance coming back, finally. We've had a lot of questions about Wayless when he was previously in the LPL, was notoriously underperforming. Still had that hero factor as a part of him. It was notable, honestly, that he tried too many hero plays, but it just felt so him, and he slotted back into LGD seamlessly.
But again, it still feels like we had the same play styles from both these 2 teams. Cerebral coming out from Vici, and then very chaotic coming out from LGD. That did not change throughout this best-of-3 series.
But that's the one thing, is LGD, their identity in terms of when you look at their high success at 2015 summer split before going into Worlds, their 5v5 retains itself. You know, it's still this incredible ability to win fights from deficits, to fight beautifully around Baron Pits. If you give them 6 items, they're one of the most dangerous teams to allow to have that. And it's now just kind of closing that gap to their minion control that we saw them really display in summer 2015 before they kind of reassumed their throne as that former LGD squad. But you can start to see some of that development. You know, Imp and Marn continuously dying so many times because they're pushing those creep waves forward, setting up for objectives.
They're trying too hard to do certain things where they're not actually thinking, they're just being told or something like that. Not individual thinking. My biggest surprise coming into this set is I did not expect individual star power to be enough to get them to the late game against the likes of Dandy and Easyhoon, who should be able to corral their team and actually find themselves with a team fight and snowball advantages from early leads that they had, yet it just never came about. The fact that Marin can be 1-8 or something at one point, I think he was 1-9, and still be more impactful than Lung is just not meant to happen.
And it was interesting to see as well Vici subbing out Endless in game number 2, putting Shen P, and then they got him to play Ashe, which feels like a champion they would much rather Endless be playing in that second match.
This is the biggest problem with Vici, is they seemingly don't understand the difference between their 280 carries.
Well, for now, we can take a look at the results for today's LPL's matches. First up, it was IMA taking on Team WE. They picked up an impressive Game 1 victory off of 1 call, but dropped the next 2 games to Team WE as LGD get the 2-0 against Vici in that second match.
And now LGD are IMA's biggest fans, because if IMA take down Vici, then they will have the superior record and get that last spot into playoffs.
We'll have to check in and see if they can do just that. As we take a look at Group B standings, RNG still on top with 11-2. Team WE now 10-4. IMA 9-5. Vici 6-7. LGD back to 1 game out of playoffs at 5-8, with OMG now 3-10.
This group just got a little bit more exciting for Oscar, as an end result of today's games. Team WE did secure that second place spot, but IMA are now potentially going to be the upset kings, as they should be in the playoffs themselves regardless.
LGD are just ripping off their jerseys. They've got the IMA gear on. They've got the little flags. That's what they're going for.
For now, then, let's take a look at tomorrow's matches. First up is going to be Saint taking on EDG, a colossal battle and a big mountain for Saint to climb, followed by Game Talents taking on the consistently inconsistent Invictus Gaming, and Snake taking on Newbie in the final match of the night.
The kind of games that could go either direction. Realistically, you'd say it's favored matchups quite heavily to one direction, but upsets are always a thing within the LPL. You never really know who's going to show up to play.
And certainly are. You know, EDG, they're still undefeated here. Saint have a huge mountain if they want to try and take them down, but like we mentioned at the start of the broadcast, especially from yesterday's games, anything Snake can do at this point in the LPL is just really consolation prizes, and it really feels like they're just trying to find their form for the relegation and promotion tournament.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's trying to work out identities quite heavily. For Saint, they need to decide on 5 people that they want to keep throughout. For Snake in particular, they need to work out where SOFM really fits in. There's a lot of these things. Newbie, they need to work on their drafting to really refine themselves, but that's the beauty of this stage of the LPL. We're in refinement. And
we even have Game Talents playing their match against Invictus Gaming. You know, Invictus Gaming have been looking to try and see if they can settle their roster down a little bit more. Game Talents, on the other hand, they've had an up and down split, surprising a few people picking up wins here and there, looking to try and solidify that a little bit more and pick up even more victories, especially against IG.
It's kind of the idea that Group A maybe had buffed up Game Talent's initial appearance simply because it turned out to be the weaker of the 2 groups when you compare it to Group B. On the other side, Invictus Gaming, if we're talking about refinement, their last set yesterday against Saint, you know, pulling out Zatai on the roster and having their bot lane go off, seems to be that that's the strongest iteration of the roster they've had. Still can't say for sure because it was against Saint, but I'd like to see Invictus Gaming continue to build off of the success that they had on Thursday.
You just can't tell with GT, can you? It's like, oh, they look like they've been underperforming. They've been exploited a little bit now. The good teams have gotten them in cross group, and then they just come back in 2-0 Newbie, and it's like, I can't tell if it's Newbie or if it's GT. Like, where do they actually
I just
sit?
feel like they're actually kind of mediocre at everything, but because they're like jack of all trades, it kind of covers all of their bases. It's like decent drafting because they use a lot of flex picks. They're good at late game team fighting. Their decision making isn't awful, but it's very erratic.
They're the multi-purpose WE.
They're like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
And you've got like the can opener and the corkscrew and the knife, but you have those little scissors. You don't use the scissors.
But they are there.
But they're there.
What if you need those scissors?
Exactly.
Well, hopefully Game Talents can use those scissors to pick up a win against Invictus Gaming tomorrow. That final match that we kind of touched on briefly was Snake taking on Newbie. That's going to be a big match to watch out for as well. But let's take a look at the MVP for game number 2. It's going on over towards Wayless again. 2 games, 2 MVP performances, 6-4 and 6 on his Varus.
Ah, yes. Just let me absorb this. Wayless comes back into the LPL, gets back-to-back MVPs. I'm so proud.
Okay, why? Why not Imp? Like, that guy was a beast.
Why not PYL?
Wayless got camped, he got carried to the late game, and then, yes, he did his part.
Yes, he did his
Imp
part.
was a god.
Look at PYL.
Well, PYL should
You know what?
definitely got it.
I'll
Okay, yeah.
accept that.
Because all I saw was, you know, Marin dies, okay, Wayless is getting camped, Intruder was doing all right, and then PYL was just like, I'll save the day.
That's something that we have to really touch on, though, is that Wayless is an incredibly emotional player. I mean, if 2015 Worlds told us anything about LGD, it's that guy can tilt off the face of the planet. And to get camped that hard, retain his cool, and actually show up and be a factor late game, that's development. That's refinement.
That's why he got MVP twice.
That's why I got MVP twice.
They're trying to keep his emotions in check. I'm on to you, yeah.
So Wayless does pick up the double MVP as well, and I think another person we have to kind of point out who's made a return to the roster being Intruder definitely looked really good in the jungle in those 2 games.
He reminds me of Loveling. If you think all the way back to OMG's glory days, a very aggressive jungler who's kind of made his reputation on 1v1 challenging or being like a forward playmaker. Obviously, small sample size, so still hard to tell, but big things coming out of this jungler, and it's where have you been?
Yeah, he likes to build damage. He's actually a big part of this team's success. We already highlighted how having someone like Wayless could make life a lot better for a jungler like Intruder, and I think Amy was potentially better suited to being in the team with Punished, but it's the other 3 members of LGD that then started to struggle as a result of that. And now that they've actually come to this set 5, I do hope they stick with it because all 5 people look strong as a result.
I certainly do, but one player I also want to kind of touch out again for LGD is Marin up in the top lane, you know. We kind of joked about how game 1, you know, he said he can take a back seat because Wayless was performing so well and the rest of LGD was following up with that. But game 2, it almost looked scary when he started to fall even further and further behind on that rumble. and it feels like performances like that could cost his team eventually.
But the thing is yes, Marn has the ability that he can be a hard carry. We've seen that the world's MVP, but he doesn't need to be. And that's the beauty of it. If Marn is just playing a consistent job, if he's just being that that flanking Rumble that's setting up these team fights, that's when LGD will find mountains of success instead of relying on him to be the sole carry of the team.
Well, LGD was still able to pick up their win today over Vici Gaming. And we also saw earlier today Team WE able to take down IMA, but that's all the League of Legends matches that we have for today. On behalf of myself, Frostger, Rusty, as well as an entire production crew, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.